Thank you so much for watching this film. I just want to say to everyone who watched the film, left reviews, left comments, whether you liked it or didn't like it, praises, criticisms, suggestions. I did my best to read all of them, and it was honestly an honor to share some work with you guys, and I really appreciate you guys watching it. This movie was born of many writers' meetings that I've had with friends. We sit in rooms or we go to a restaurant, we meet up, we pitch each other ideas. Sometimes we rip each other to shreds, and sometimes we get a spark. We get this great idea. And I wanted to make a movie that captured that sort of excitement that happens during those meetings. So there's actually a kind of hilarious story around that title, The Puppet's Lament. A friend of mine came up with this story that he really, really wanted to tell. And he wanted me to direct it. This was like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. And he had this great pitch. But then he actually said to me, like, I'm calling it The Puppet's Lament. And I went, why? I told him, I was like, that title is just, it makes no sense. It has nothing to do with the story. And I'm still friends with this guy. So I actually asked him, I said, can I call this guy's script The Puppet's Lament? And he was like, yes. And I wanted to present a character in Joe who has valid reasons for why he thinks his script is a good idea. He's able to explain with facts and stats why he thinks his film could work. And there's a lot of writers and filmmakers who look at the patterns of films that are released and they try to find a way to emulate that, thinking that that's the way to success. And that's sort of where he's at right now after all of his experience writing ripoff movies. And it's funny, someone in the comments mentioned Todd Phillips' Joker and the mini Scorsese Taxi Driver comparisons it's gotten. And I like Joker. That's a good example, I think, of somebody taking something that worked and trying to find a way to build on it. But this character is kind of the opposite of that, where an idea is great, and maybe we can make Insect Man out of this Spider-Man movie that everyone likes. Now with these little clips here, that, by the way, John Flickinger is fucking gold in, we were able to get away with less than special effects, because they're supposed to be rip-off movies. They're supposed to be, you know, those type of so bad asylum transmorphers movies that we all love to watch sometimes, just for the joy of watching them. Because there's no way on, you know, a few $1,000 budget that we had to create really great effects. But we were able to get away with that because of the quality of the films he's written before. And honestly, like, it kind of gave me an excuse to just have fun and go out in the woods and do this craziness with John. It was a great time. And John also made all these posters too.
When you called me and you told me you wrote something new, something original, I expected you to actually try.
And I just also want to give like a big shout out to these two actors, Mason Heidger and KateLynn Newberry. They were so prepared. They were so excited. They were so present, like, all the time. We did a rehearsal, a full day for rehearsals, and they performed the entire script as you see it here, but in one unbroken take that I shot on my iPhone. And I mean, it was like watching theater. They were just so ready and so excited to be there. We had 2 days to shoot this. And that's one of the reasons why I chose to do handheld. I knew that if we adopted a more locked down way of filming, we would go over time and we would have never finished on time. Plus, I sort of like the idea of handheld for this because the way I view this conversation is they're very on edge with each other. Once you learn that, you know, they were at one point in time dating, she's kind of there as sort of like a last ditch effort for him, like an I owe him this much kind of thing, you know, like, well, I'll give him this last chance. This is maybe my favorite little clip. We had so much fun shooting this, and I have to thank Josh Petrino for working on the special effects. He did a really phenomenal job with sort of recreating the absurd over the top nature of what we were going for. There's also a lot of things that you don't see that are all over the set hidden. There's something like 20 or 30 small figures of aliens all around the set. On the other side of the room, there is a whole nother poster that we made for a film called Laura Jones Crypt Pillager. My wife is in that poster as a ripoff Tomb Raider. I wish we could see more of that wall. There actually is a deleted scene in the beginning that has more of that wall. Maybe I'll show that at some point.
I wanted to make a statement where true evil can have any name.
He's trying to like basically find these absurd workarounds for a story that's already fine the way it is. You know, like he has a basic concept that's not terrible, but he thinks that it has to have twists and it has to have this appeal, you know, like it has to check all these boxes that a focus group would approve and all the right demographics are hit. And he's just approaching it from a very statistical scenario.
Christopher Nolan explored dreams and reality with Inception, nominated for 8 Oscars, won for 800.
And he's trying to make something that no one else is making, but he doesn't understand how to do that. And he's still sort of approaching it from that same mindset of, well, these things just come together, right? Like great movies they just happen, you know? Like there's no planning, there's no originality. They just happen. Like all these people, they come together and they make movies, and I can do it quicker than them. So his heart's in the right place. He's just thinking about it in all the wrong ways. Quick funny story. When we were shooting this, somebody outside started mowing the lawn, and I ran outside and offered him $50 to mow his lawn the next day because he was destroying every single take. We were very scared at first, but gratefully he agreed to mow his lawn the next day. So I started thinking about, you know, like oftentimes you get inspired by certain ideas when you make a movie. And it's usually something in your real life experience. But then you have to find a way to make it more interesting. Because obviously just like two dudes like hanging out, talking about like scripts that they're going to make. I have such a hard time talking over this shit. This is just insane. Matt and John stared at each other for like 10 takes, screaming into each other's eyes. I'm pretty sure afterwards they were officially married. It was very emotional. So what I was saying is like, it's not that interesting to just have like two dudes like hanging out in a room talking. So I was thinking, all right, well, what if they used to have a relationship? What if she's so much more successful than him that he's intimidated by her, but he's so excited about this new idea that he feels like she's the only one that he knows that he can actually reach out to for guidance, because all of his associates just are okay with making, you know, Jurassic Universe 2 and Jurassic Universe 3. But he's just not fulfilled by that. So this movie is very personal to me in one very specific way. Basically, the Joe character, he is successful, technically. But he realizes that it's not the field that he wants to really be in.
I didn't care if they did well. I just wanted to make them.
He doesn't feel like he's achieving anything.
Writers talk about their pitch meetings at Paramount or their lunches with Netflix execs, and I'd be walking through the doors of Blood and Jugs Pictures. I mean, one of my first gigs was a comedy about dogs who secretly filmed their owners having sex. I had to write 3 more of those.
And I think most of my subscribers know I want to direct. I don't want to make movie reviews for the rest of my life, even though I've been able to find success doing it, and I do enjoy it. It doesn't fulfill me artistically. And so in that way, I sort of relate to this character because, yeah, I mean, he's able to support himself, and technically he's involved in the film industry, but he just doesn't feel artistically fulfilled.
Melanie Banks, Indie Wonder.
Last summer?
But at the same time, Melanie is also the antithesis of his character because she's very fulfilled artistically and she's very successful, but she's completely forgotten how to locate that childlike inspiration, that spark of a random absurd idea that you would only make if you didn't have experience. That type of like
Joe,
just
that's not
makes no sense, throw all the shit against the wall idea that you only make when you're naive. She's completely forgotten how to do that, and Joe can fill in that gap for her. And this little moment between the two in this office is them kind of discovering why they worked so well together. He's got the crazy ideas that nobody will make, but he doesn't know how to fine-tune them into something that makes sense. She can do that for him. But she doesn't know how to be like a kid anymore. She doesn't know how to have blind inspiration, how to just come up with a random fucking idea and then just shoot it. He wants to do that kind of thing. And I loved the idea of throwing these two people in a room together and just having them talk about movies.
In theaters, not on the toilet.
Mason is like so good right here.
Best writer I know. If anybody can help me.
He is so attached to the material. Mason is. When we talked for a few months before we shot this, he got so passionate about his character that he would get upset when I removed lines. He'd be like, wait, where was that great monologue? And I'm like, dude, it's running a little long already, dude. And he's like, oh, but it's so good. He got so attached. He's such a great actor.
What if the twist?
And even here, see, he's still trying to find a way to do some kind of like absurd workaround that he doesn't have to do.
The screen and says,
Oh god, that was actually a reshoot. We had an original, a different scene in there where he was dressed up in a different outfit, but
or what if he challenges Jerry to an arm wrestling contest to win back his honor?
Aaron had the idea to just have percussion in the background of this moment,
80s music and
because essentially this is Joe's breakdown and realization that he is
God damn it, you're right. I'm
a hack.
talentless. I'm pathetic. I even had good ideas in zombie blood snatchers.
Basically, I try to create a full like 10 to 15 year realization for an artist in one room in 20 minutes. He goes from being excited about an idea to being doubtful of the idea to accepting the fact that his idea is shit. And once he accepts that, he realizes how he can fix it.
Yeah, what about it?
Do you remember how we did it?
Because I feel like that's what happens for a lot of writers. When you sit down with an idea, you're so excited about this idea, and then once you start to pick holes in it, you're like, oh my god, I don't know. And then you pick so many holes in it to the fact till you hate it, and you think you're just terrible at what you're trying to do.
Is really the
And once you accept that you hate it, you finally realize how you can fix it. At least that's been my experience as a self-loathing, self-hating writer.
a photo of a beautiful young woman hanging on his wall.
Aaron's music is like creeping in here, and it's fucking, it's giving me chills. His music is so amazing.
With a hint of Cruz and collateral, like anything could happen at any moment. So we follow him as he visits various.
Like Mason is so good in this scene that like I'm actually getting inspired by his idea, even though his idea is so absurd and still doesn't quite make sense. I'm excited because he's excited. And this is what a writer's meeting can be like sometimes. You just have these two people like ripping each other to shreds until they find the slightest shred of something, and then it's like the sun fucking explodes and the world opens up to you and anything could happen. And I wanted to capture that live wire immediacy, which is why we have this one take scene coming up here in a minute. I really did not want to break it up. I wanted it to feel very in the moment, like this is happening right now. And you watch them go from like being on edge with each other to remembering what it used to be like.
But, you do know.
Like they remember why they worked so well together.
It's shit.
Just fuck it. We'll fix it later. Okay? Just bear with me. I haven't felt a spark like this in years.
Okay, so this is the start of the one take. We shot this movie over the course of 2 days. This one take was done. We did a whole day for it. 20 takes we did. 3 of those takes I thought were usable. And I went with the 5th take. So we did 15 more takes that we didn't necessarily have to do, but we wanted to make sure we got it right. Now, if you look at the poster behind KateLynn, you'll see, well, that's a reflective surface, which is a terrible thing to have when you're doing a oneer. And our sound guy ended up reflected in that poster 17 times throughout the course of this take. That was horrible, as I was looking at it, thinking there's nothing I can do about this. Thankfully, Josh Petrino, an incredible effects artist, came on board and took him out of there. You cannot see him. It is seamless. I've gone through this frame for frame. You never see the sound guy reflected once.
Find that hypocritical?
Seems like the wrong time to get into a philosophical tangent.
Just keep going.
Enough talk! Jordan approaches.
So I wanted them to experience a real arc as people while they read this fictional dialogue.
No idea.
So I crafted the fake scene purposefully to like get them closer to this emotional moment. So like where the dialogue that they're saying
He pulls the trigger anyway.
in the script is relative to how they're feeling in a way.
Do you want me to keep reading?
No, that's the alien part.
And now they're both starting to remember like, okay, I actually remember the old days when we used to work together and it was kind of nice.
He wipes out all known witnesses.
They need each other in a way.
It's murder.
As he trains his son.
And I didn't want it to seem
And we find out
like, oh, well, they're going to be together. I wanted to leave that up to you guys, basically. Like, okay, maybe they'll just keep working together. Who knows if they'll be romantically involved? Maybe they will, maybe they won't.
So you got your twist.
Thank you, Mel.
And keeping this in a oneer just really kept them in the moment.
Park in college.
Like they were able to really feel the scene, not having to worry about cuts.
Missed this.
Me too.
This is the tightest we've been in the whole movie, these close-ups now. I wanted basically the room to disappear. Like this moment is so intensely personal that you barely even see anything else but their faces.
A hopeless ending. Bittersweet, maybe. Or a hopeful ending. With a hint of redemption for it. What do you think?
And Mason really sold this because I wanted his smile to indicate like 5 different things. It's obviously hopeful. They could be together, they could work together, or it could just be a nice little moment where they figured things out. Guys, thank you again, seriously, for watching this movie. Whether you liked it or not, it meant a lot to me to be able to make it. And all of these people you see listed here helped in one way or another to get it made, and I thank all of them too. I'm really hoping that I can have more things to share with you guys in the future in regards to a feature I'm working on. Thank you guys so much for watching.